Vulnerability is literally a type of weakness. The first synonym given for vulnerable in my trusty Roget's College Thesaurus is the word weak. The 1955 Oxford Universal Dictionary on my shelf says that vulnerable means open to attack. Yet men are consistently told today that vulnerability is strength, and that to be good or real men, we need to be vulnerable. Feminist thought guru Brené Brown went so far as to say that it's a myth that vulnerability and weakness are synonyms. Printed page be damned. She's a best-selling author and therapist. If she says it's a myth, her word must be true. Of course, that's not true. Brené Brown is being dishonest. She has good intentions, though, so it's the good kind of dishonest. Like telling a child there are monsters under the bed. And in her world, men are children, and if a small prevarication is needed to convince men to behave, then her lack of integrity will be excused. To what end, though? What exactly is the point of this push to convince men to embrace weakness? An internet search asking why are men being told to be vulnerable only produces articles promoting the idea that men need to be vulnerable. It's not entirely clear then who we should assign this propaganda to, other than the media in general. Regardless of the precise origins, however, mainstream culture has fully adopted the idea that men need to be weak in order to be good men. When I've asked for a definition of male vulnerability, I'm always given a description of a man being emotionally intimate. However, going back to a thesaurus and dictionary again, intimacy has no negative connotations. That is, there's no logical connection between intimate and weak. This has men attempting to create an intimate connection with a woman by expressing their emotions in a way that is not natural to masculinity. Back to the internet for clarification on this. Searching for masculine emotions produces articles and research that all come to the same conclusion. The feminine response is by default the correct response. Academia has arbitrarily pronounced the feminine to be superior to the masculine. Women are more likely to eat vegetables than are men, and vegetables are supposed to be good for a person, and so obviously, men are inherently flawed. The APA's 2019 guidelines actually use this as an example of toxic masculinity. Men are natural risk takers, and risk-taking is risky. Thus, men are flawed. And women being more emotionally open than men are, of course, hopelessly flawed. The so-called research is worthless. In making the case that intimacy requires weakness, the most common argument I get is that a soldier going into battle is vulnerable but not weak. Seems like a Freudian slip to reflexively compare a romantic relationship to combat. But that's a separate topic. More to the point, if a soldier is well trained and properly equipped, he's not vulnerable because he's in harm's way. A soldier that is vulnerable in battle has left his flank open, dropped his equipment, or encountered some other mishap that keeps him from utilizing his strength. This is key to understanding the entire topic. A man in a romantic relationship is in a position where he could be hurt. He has put himself in a position to love and to be beholden to another person to return love and loyalty. If these are not reciprocated, he will indeed be hurt. The bullet will have found its mark. Not because he was weak, though, but simply because he was in a position where the potential for harm was present. The strong man, however, will have sensible boundaries for a relationship, whereas a man with few, if any, limits on a woman's behavior has left himself vulnerable. The difference is a strong man can be wounded by a woman, but a weak man will be utterly destroyed. Brené Brown isn't stupid, of course. She knows that vulnerability and weakness are synonymous, and yet she's built a personal brand on something that is patently false. Anyone with a public voice that would call her out on this would be called unenlightened, or worse, toxic. Thus, she operates with impunity. This is the natural result of a society in decline. Hedonism always produces a weak and effeminate people. Or these are the biblical end times, bringing about the weakened population that can be more easily subdued. Either way, Rome has fallen and the barbarians are already inside the gate. Nonetheless, resist the rot and stand your ground.